So imagine for a second, as a gamer, I told you I have an idea for a game where you control the wind and you'll push various flower petals along and guide them along their path, activating more checkpoints along the map and making things more colorful. You'd look at me like I was crazy, right? Well, thank God people actually respect these out-of-place ideas in the gaming industry, because we have ourselves one of the best games of 2009 right now. A little gem by the same people who made Flow, not surprising, and its title, ironically enough, is Flower. 2 added letters to the second great game they've produced so far. So as I said, the concept is basically just to guide a flower petal on its path. Basically interacting with every other flower you see, and, well, not to give anything away, but let's just say the idea here is to consistently hit, I guess you can call them checkpoints, or different flowers to activate different things happening on the map. Now, as you can see here, the world is very colorless. It's lacking any real beauty, let's say. So, as you guide these flowers along the merry path, either gradually getting there or holding down whatever button you'd like to move faster, or to give it a gust of wind, or to blow the wind as the game instructs, and I mean it vaguely instructs. The instructions for this game are basically on the screen before you even get to the game. They're on the PSN menu screen. Basically, that's all you do. So what makes this game so damn remarkable is the question of the day. What makes it so special that I've already said it's a must-play? Well, for starters, it's beautiful. You can't see it here, but if you play this game on an HD TV of any quality, the graphics will immediately grab you, and they're not going to let you go. And while we're looking at a colorless world right now, take my word for it. As the game goes on and you start adding color to this world, it is a remarkable experience, and no matter how much I show you video-wise, you have to see this for yourself. You can't even see things like the little rain droplets or the sunscreen effects or anything like that through these videos. It is just impossible to describe how remarkably beautiful this game is and how it feels, well, to control the wind. It's almost like being able to fly. It's like that dream where you say, I wish I could fly. Well, Flower gives you that ability. And the question is, can you get past the point that all you do is control flowers to enjoy it? I'd certainly hope you can, because what I'm about to show you may actually shock you a little, considering what you may know about this game versus what it actually is. For starters, the control is spot on. Now, I question the 6-axis at times because it seems very gimmicky, but with games like Flower, it feels almost like this game could not be done any other way. Could it be done with the Wiimote sensor? It is possible, but I gotta be honest with you here. I feel more in touch with it playing it with the 6-axis for some bizarre reason, and it's odd for me to say that because I'm not generally a fan of 6-axis control, because the game seemed to just throw it in as a gimmick, where in here, it's the absolute control method, and I couldn't picture playing with anything else. Closest you can get was the Wiimote, but with a 360 controller, because a lot of people said this game should be on the 360, it just ain't gonna work. It isn't gonna be the same thing. As for everything else, graphics, as you can see, are amazing, and sound, well, the music is absolutely fantastic, and the sound effects are great as well, because every time you hit a flower, different tones and notes will play, and you can actually hit them in sequence with the music of the game, and it just sounds fantastic. And again, it looks amazing. I mean, in terms of graphical representation on screen, this game gets like a 10, easy. I've never seen transitions that look this good in terms of nature effects or anything like that, and as I said, it's just generally pleasing to see. Giving these worlds color, it just has this sense of, like, absolute satisfaction behind it that I don't get from other games. And it might sound stupid, queer, or as you might put it, gay, to talk about it like this, but I honestly, it's enchanting, to say the least. And it has a sort of mystic beauty to it, because it's not entirely realistic either. You won't really see these colors in real life. You may, on occasion, see flowers forming to enough of these colors, but anything like this is pure fantasy. So, the game has kind of a realism meets fantasy edge to it that I really like. Despite the fact that, most people said, all you do is fly around and you turn flowers on, how much fun can that be? It's actually a lot of fun, and it's varied. That's the thing I didn't know. See, had I known that going in, I would have enjoyed this a hell of a lot more, or at least bought it sooner. Here's the thing, they're not telling you how varied this game really is, and I will actually show you. Right now we're looking at a daytime scene, right? And voila! Nighttime, or as the sun sets, should I say. This is an unbelievably remarkable level in its sense, because not only does it feel like before, just that the objectives have slightly changed, but you do something very cool, and something I haven't seen, and the lighting effect here is unbelievable. Let's just hold out for a second, you'll see what I'm talking about. So now the game has changed from just, hitting flowers and activating little checkpoints to basically illuminating the ground. And I've got to say, this is one of the cooler moments in this game, for me anyway, because the lighting effect is born on one of the best I've ever seen in gaming. But more so because, again, there's this mystic beauty and enchanting feel this game gives off that I think anybody would appreciate, as long as they sat down and, they got it in their head that, well, what the game is going to be, basically. The tricky thing is, halfway through this level, something very remarkable happens, and the game sort of changes pace, and I tell you what, I was not expecting it. And I've noticed that nobody wants to spoil this, but I guess I've got to spoil it to do a really decent review and show you that this game does have kind of a darker edge and proves that every rose does in fact have its thorn. I'm going to tell you here and now, this is a spoiler, so if you want to enjoy this game without knowing about this, turn the video off right now, because this was not a known thing to me, and I think a lot of other gamers don't even know this happens in the game. But all of a sudden, the world you're in goes from being very nice to pretty dark and scary, actually, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't expect this at all. But I should have known that there would have been something, since Flow throws stuff at you halfway and you didn't expect either. And these developers are pretty known for throwing in a nice twist and turn as you get used to the, sort of way things work. But again, this is very different feeling. And I'll give you the truth, it actually has a very nightmarish vibe to it. Because everything all of a sudden goes from being very bright to very, very dark. Even the music, which is outstanding, by the way, but have a listen. I didn't say this earlier on, but I probably should. Basically, in Flower, you choose each level individually based on the flower sitting on the shelf, and you can kind of tell what you're in for based on how the pot it's in looks and how it looks in general, and also the window's a good hint and gives you an idea of what's going on. Something I've got to point out, however, is this game has a minor issue. You may even have noticed it when I was playing the footage before, but there's minor sound lag and video lag, and they say it has something to do with the hard drive on the PS3. I don't know. It doesn't really take away from the experience, but you may notice it, especially with this cutscene right here. And yes, cutscenes always play beforehand. They don't really tell you much. They just kind of describe, I guess, the atmosphere and how it's going to feel. And this stage in particular stands out the most for me because it's the most objective-based level. What you did in the beginning is suddenly basically thrown away for something a little bit different. And it's a very depressing level, and I think I understand why it's so depressing. Flower to me seems to be about the trip of, basically life and death. I guess if you were a plant, but at the same time it could be meant in a lot of different things. And again, if you've seen how this game ends, you may be able to take different things away from it. But this is a very depressing level, and it's a very hard level. It's probably the hardest level in the game because it taxes you with trying not to get electrocuted as you fly past things and try, to bring color to this basically dead world. And this world, let me tell you, beyond all the other ones, is very dead, dark, and gloomy, and a lot of people who played Flower, they don't like this level because they find it utterly depressing. The criticism I make is that I think what the team was trying to do, aside from keep with the consistency of telling a storyline here without saying anything, was to give the game a bit more challenge, but also to point out a fact that playing video games, as they usually are, is not always the greatest thing in the world, and everything you knew up to this point has been taken away, and your control is basically restricted to you basically moving with stealth to some degree past things that will, in fact, electrocute you. And if you're a trophy hunter, you got to do this entire level without getting electrocuted even once. You can't even crash into anything as far as I know, and it's very hard to do. I've yet to do it myself. But it adds a nice challenge factor. But again, this is the most depressing level in the game. But it kind of hands over the fact that I think this game is supposed to be about life and death, or at least that's what I drew from it. The interesting thing about Flower and Flow and any of the games this developer has made is that you kind of take your own little bit away from it. It could be about whatever you want. There's no given actual storyline, there's no dialogue or anything like that. You basically just do as you see fit based on what the game asks you to do in the beginning, and you take whatever you want from it. I personally have no words to actually describe this game if I was supposed to tell somebody what makes it so great. All I know is that it's one of those experiences I think every gamer is entitled to. And if any gamer misses out on it, well, they just missed something really beautiful then.